up, everybody? Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So the last one of the year, and there's a good amount of news to go over this week. So the first thing I want to get right into it here is that there is some new engine leaks here. First off, for the new 2019 Shelby GT500. So we just have a picture here that leaked out thanks to Mustang 64 member Zach MD1, who was, I guess, looking through Shelby GT350 CAD files in some service documents or something, and there was this CAD diagram that was listed as a GT350 engine, but you can clearly see it has a supercharger on top of it with the Shelby logo. So that's a dead giveaway. This is the Predator motor, as it's being called, for the new GT500, which is a 5.2 liter cross-plane crank, not flat plane like the GT350. Cross-plane crank, supercharged 5.2. And so, yeah, I don't know who screwed up at Ford that accidentally put these images in instead of a normal GT350 motor in these documents. But yeah, so again, not sure any details on it. It's just, look, here's more confirmation. This is going to be the setup in the new GT500. When it actually is going to be revealed is anyone's guess. It could be Detroit alongside the Bullet, although I feel like that might kind of steal the thunder from each other a little bit with, revealing both. But then again, Ford did debut the Ford GT supercar, the GT350R, and the Raptor all at the same time at the 2015 North American International Auto Show in Detroit there. So they've done it in the past. We do know it's a 45-minute press conference here for Ford in about 2 weeks' time here. So it's going to be plenty of time, about 15 minutes longer than all the other car companies, so they have enough time to do a bunch of reveals. It sounds like that might be what they're teeing up for here, but who knows? It could be something at like a Shelby event, kind of, a lot of these car companies these days are doing these pop-up, just surprise reveals, either online or at random smaller events instead of auto shows, so it doesn't have to be an auto show, but the next one would be the New York Auto Show at the end of March. We do know the 2019 Mustang ordering opens up mid-March, so that's a little late if they're going to have it, be revealed alongside the 2019 Mustang ordering. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see yet another confirmation that setup is in fact coming. Another motor that was leaked here was what is being called the LT7 motor for the new mid-engine C8 Corvette. So it looks like a twin-turbo V8 engine here, clearly a mid-engine layout with the way that the exhaust and stuff is set up so that it goes right, not a long path there for the exhaust, straight out to the back there. And again, more CAD images. These ones were uploaded by Michael Accardi on Twitter there. As you can see, it's a dual overhead cam. So we don't know much more about this, but this further backs up the reports that we heard a few weeks ago that the mid-engine Corvette could have 3 different engine options, because this motor, this LT7, looks different than the LT1 that was revealed, which was more leaked CAD images a couple of weeks ago. That motor looks different than this one, but they both look official and legit, so we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe, there could be some possibilities that got ditched or something, but it sounds like, we heard there's going to be 2 twin-turbo V8s, one that's larger than the other, and then also the naturally aspirated V8 that's currently in the Corvette will carry over to the new mid-engine one as well, and be the only naturally aspirated option. So those were the 3 that we heard originally. There was rumors that the smaller twin-turbo V8 could be for some type of Cadillac supercar version instead or something. Again, this is all up in the air. We have no clue what's going on with any of this stuff, and we have no clue when this is finally going to be revealed, this mid-engine Corvette, or whatever it ends up being. Again, could be any auto show here for the next 2018 season, and it's anyone's guess, honestly. Detroit would be a nice surprise, but Chevy doesn't even have a normal press conference at Detroit. They're doing some off-site party instead of having an actual press conference at Detroit, so it might be somewhere else, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, interesting to at least see those leaks there. Speaking of Corvette news, though, there's this company called Genovation Cars, and they're a small company that have been developing this all-electric C7 Corvette, and they're calling it the GXE, and they're going to be showing it here, I believe, at the Consumer Electronics Show in a couple of weeks. But anyway, they officially announced some numbers about this thing, because this thing's been under development. There's been a couple stories about it in the past, but now they're saying it's going to do 0 to 60 within 3 seconds, a 220 mile per hour top speed, but the thing is, it only has a 60 kilowatt hour battery, so think of like a P60D Tesla. That's how small the battery is. So they said only 130 miles of range, and that's if you're taking it easy. So because of that, it's got less performance than a Tesla, but here's the price. This thing's going to be costing $750,000, they announced. So for $750 grand, you get a car that's slower than a less than $100,000 Tesla, that it has less room, is less practical, less versatile, less range, all for 750 grand. I don't know who in their right mind. If you're spending that kind of money, you're going to go for, some type of hypercar or something like that. You're not going to want and be driving around in a Corvette if you're spending 750 grand. And you certainly aren't going to go for one that can only go 130 miles and not even keep up with a Tesla. So, but who knows? They're still going for it. They're planning on building these. We'll see. Maybe there's a few Corvette diehards that really want an electric Corvette. But that seems like kind of a conflict of its own. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, interesting to see that. Speaking of these electric supercars and stuff, the McLaren actually confirmed this past week that they're working on an EV hypercar, but they can't really make sense of how to do it properly yet. So here's kind of what went down. So Autocar talked with McLaren's the engineering design director, and so they were talking with him, and they're saying how they're currently testing driver engagement and the challenges of track driving in EVs. And so here's what he said. He said, let's say you want to drive on a track for half an hour. If that was an EV, that would have you would have to have over 500 miles of range to do that, and it would be flat as a pancake at the end of your track session. The energy required to do really high performance on track is staggering, and then you're going to have to recharge it. And so he says that the technology is improving, but that there's a lot more investment going into the long range normal battery packs for just the EVs that they just want to get higher mileage out of, not performance stuff. The performance battery packs, they have to be developed especially to discharge really fast in order to get you that really high performance, and that's not what people are investing in. All these other car companies are just going for mass-produced people movers, and that's it. So there's not a lot of investment in this high-performance EV segment, and McLaren's just struggling to find ways to make it work anyway, even if the technology was there. So that's kind of their hang up, but they said that they still are planning on, half of their fleet they're planning by 2022 will be hybrid, including the new BP23, which is the new three-seater they're going to have. The P1, of course, was hybrid, and a lot of the other stuff will be hybrid here by 2022. So that helps because it says, you can have an onboard generator and recharge yourself, and then you're good, and not be stranded if your battery goes flat, which makes a lot of sense. So interesting to hear all that, though, about them. Some other electric car news. I'm sorry, that's like all that gets talked about these days, is all these automotive stories are electric related. Volkswagen has filed a few new electric car trademarks that Auto Guide discovered here this past week. The new names are called the ID Cruiser, the ID Freeler, and the ID Streetmate. So again, the ID thing is part of the whole electric thing. We already saw the ID Buzz, which is the new microbus, the ID Cross, and then there was the new other ID that they also revealed, the hatchback version. So we know all these IDs are coming. I don't know if these are the new names for those ones that were already announced, or if these are additional, variants, or what's going on with all that. But anyway, just some new names there that, again, might never even get used. They might just be filing trademarks for them, but interesting to hear that nonetheless. Speaking of more hybrid and electric stuff, Hyundai has officially announced pricing for the 2018 Hyundai Ioniq plug-in hybrid. Now, we've already had the standard Ioniq EV and then also the Ioniq hybrid, but not a plug-in hybrid. So this one kind of bridges the gap between the two. So the plug-in hybrid starts at $25,835, including destination, which is right around the pricing of the Prius Prime. I think it's maybe $1,500 cheaper than that. But right around the same as all the competitors there. The limited one starts at $29,185. So basically, the standard hybrid version is a little bit cheaper anywhere depending on the trim. It's between $1,700 to $3,500 cheaper for the regular hybrid than the plug-in hybrid. But there's still the federal tax credit you can still get. So you can get $4,500 off if you go for the plug-in version. So you're already it's going to end up being cheaper for the plug-in hybrid over the standard hybrid. And you actually get, more capacity there with the plug-in hybrid version. And then there's also state rebates. So that could even further reduce it and make it cheaper than the hybrid. But anyway, it has 29 miles of EV range, of all electric range, before it needs to be recharged, or that gasoline engine does kick in. And even as a normal hybrid, it still is going to get 52 miles per gallon with that motor running and doing its normal hybrid duties. So again, right in line there with what you see with a lot of these other plug-in hybrids in this segment, and a really strong value. Again, if it's starting at just over $25,000 and you got at least $4,500 in rebates, you're looking at barely over $20,000 $65,000 for a plug-in hybrid that's pretty well equipped, like most, base model Hyundais are. So it's a pretty compelling package there. So anyway, interesting to see that. Other Hyundai and Kia news is that they announced a plan together to offer an AI-assisted technology system in their vehicles starting in 2019, and they plan to have every vehicle connected by 2025. So they're going to unveil this at the Consumer Electronics Show next month, and they're working with SoundHound supposedly to make intelligent personal agents, is what they're calling them, that make suggestions and remind you of things, and also allows remote control of the car and your house. So, and it also support multiple commands. So you can say, check the weather and turn on the headlights, and it'll do those two things at the same time and be able to handle that kind of a request. But think of it, I guess, kind of like a Google Home Mini or Amazon Alexa. Those were, like, I think the top selling purchases for Christmas time this year. Everyone was buying these things, so I think everyone's really into this, these AI assistants or whatever, and so adding those to a car is the next natural step. I think it's kind of funny though that before the whole texting while driving thing was an issue, 10 years ago the issue was talking on your cell phone while driving, and how just talking on the phone with someone was very distracting while driving. And now they're putting these systems in cars, so you're talking to Siri or whatever you want to call it in the car and having these conversations and requesting it, and it's saying, hey, don't forget about your meeting and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like that's going to be even more distracting than having a normal phone call with someone. But again, we'll just have to wait and see how they implement it, and hopefully it's in a minimally obtrusive way so that it doesn't get too distracting. But anyway, interesting to see all that. And to briefly get back to some normal car news here for a few minutes, an interesting development here from Alfa Romeo. So Auto Express spoke with Alfa Romeo's technical boss Roberto Fedeli, who hinted that they're working on a large SUV on the same platform as the Giulia and Stelvio, which is, I think, the Giorgio platform is what it's called. And he also hinted that it might have a 48-volt mild hybrid system attached to it as well. So basically, he is quoted here as saying, the Stelvio for sure is an example of Alpha DNA. Why don't we translate that into an electrification application? Plug-in hybrid could be a problem for the Alpha DNA point of view, but for instance, a 48-volt mild hybrid solution is something that we can do without losing anything. I'm quite happy about the result we have obtained coupling a 4-cylinder with a 48-volt e-turbo. He said, I think next time we can also use it in production. With a 2-liter turbo engine, you can achieve around 350 to 400 horsepower. We are driving on a simulator, a car like that. We are working on it, and the result is not so bad. So it might have been translated from Italian there or something. But anyway, basically what he's saying here is that, with a mild hybrid system, it's not like turning into some green car. It just enhances the performance. And so if they can boost the output for a larger SUV, and if, they obviously those things print money. Any large SUV sells like hotcakes, so everyone wants to build them, and it's understandable, especially for Alfa Romeo. They need to survive here in the States, and this is the way you do it. This is what Americans want, and so this is what they're going to give them, it sounds like. And the Stelvio, I did just recently film a review of one, and that will be posted, relatively early next year here in a few weeks. The Stelvio was really impressive. It was really not far off from how good the Giulia drove. And obviously a larger SUV based on the Stelvio probably won't be quite as good, but still should be relatively similar, hopefully, to the Stelvio as far as performance. And hopefully it will still have the enthusiastic, performance of the Stelvio, just with a little bit of a larger package. But it sounds like it won't be down on power. If it's doing 350 to 400 horsepower, it's not going to be a slow SUV, much quicker than all the normal people movers, this Subaru Ascent and all that kind of stuff. This will be way faster, be more performance oriented, and sounds like there's some hope there for something like that, which is really cool. And also, he's talking about doing this. They're testing this stuff with a simulator, all this kind of stuff. We have been hearing too that there's going to be a Giulia Veloce model that's going to be coming hopefully next year. There's been rumors it could be like a 2019 model year car, and basically it would be the standard motor in the Giulia, but it would have this some type of e-hybrid, mild hybrid system that would boost the output to 350 horsepower for the Giulia. So that could be the first application to kind of test the waters before it goes to mass market in this SUV, which, by the way, they're saying this SUV is still probably about 2 years away if they do decide to continue on with it, which I'm sure they will, because the bean counters love that kind of stuff and all the money it would make them. But anyway, interesting to hear that, and at least it sounds like it's going to be something performance-oriented and stick to Alfa's DNA, so we have to stay optimistic that hopefully that remains true. Other stuff here. So back to some electric stuff briefly. Automobile was talking and finding out more about this Porsche Mission E, which is that's their Tesla fighter. It's all electric. That slots in between the 911 and the Panamera. A little bit cheaper than a Panamera, a little smaller than a Panamera, but has very similar interior space to a Panamera thanks to its EV powertrain, allowing for more room. You're not having to worry about all that additional stuff that goes along with gasoline engines. Anyway, what they've discovered is they believe there's going to be 3 different versions, which makes sense with Porsche. They love doing a normal model, an S, and a turbo. I'm not sure how they would label it here with the Mission E since there is no turbo. But, so they're saying it would have different levels. There'd be a 402 horsepower version, a 536 horsepower version, and then a 670 horsepower version. And that they would have a standard all-wheel drive, at least to start. There might be some base rear-wheel drive version later on or something. But they're saying that even just the front electric motor would do 215 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque on its own. And it could be temporarily boosted to even 325 pound-feet of torque. And then the rear motors could do anywhere between 322 horsepower to 429 horsepower. And apparently they're developing a 2-speed transmission here for this Mission E for the electric powertrain there. It's going to have an optional limited slip diff supposedly. Mid 3 seconds 0 to 60 is what they're going for here, which again is going to make it a little bit slower than the Tesla, even in its fastest form. But again, if it's real world performance is very similar, then that I'm sure will be good enough. But they're aiming to start this thing around $75,000 to $80,000 supposedly, according to Automobile. And so anyway, interesting to hear that. Some other Volkswagen Group news here, though, is German publication Auto Motor on Sport is reporting something that we've kind of already been expecting, and that is that the Bentley Bentayga is going to be getting the twin-turbo V8 that's in all the other applications, the Lamborghini Urus, a bunch of the Audis, the Porsche Cayenne Turbo. That motor will find its way into the Bentayga as a cheaper version, less powerful than the W12. And that should be arriving for the next model year here, 2019 model year, I suppose. And so that's something they're reporting. Again, something that's already been assumed is going to happen. Bentley has done that in the past with the Continental. They start off with the W12, and then they go down to the V8 version, later on. We also know there's going to be a plug-in hybrid version that's going to be coming that's going to be basically using the same powertrain as the Cayenne SE hybrid, but be more powerful because it's a Bentley and you're paying more money and it's heavier. And so, that's something they're going to be doing here as well, probably within the next year. So anyway, interesting to hear that. Some interesting thing. So a couple of weeks ago, Ford kind of made an announcement about how they're going to be kind of scaling back on their car development and working more on trucks and SUVs and electric vehicles. And then they put out another report today that kind of showed this infographic, and they elaborated a little bit more on this. So basically, they have this new CEO in there, and I think he's really working to improve the profitability of Ford and raise their stock price and make all the investors happy and stuff, which unfortunately may come at the expense of some car development. So they've officially confirmed that they're going to be spending $14 billion less on engineering and material savings. I think they said like $4 billion is like engineering jobs. They're just letting people go from their engineering department saying, nope, we don't need to engineer any of this new stuff. And they're also, cutting on material savings, which material savings is a tricky thing because car interiors have improved so much in the past 10 years. You don't want to start cutting your materials costs, going with cheaper materials, because that's just going to make Ford look even worse. If you sit in a Ford and the interior has junkier materials, not a good combo there. So yeah, it might improve the profitability, but then you're kind of going backwards as far as interior development, in my opinion. They also said they're going to be pulling $7 billion from car development to fund truck and SUV development, including an all-electric SUV that they're developing. So out of this story sprung another story that is not credible, so take this with a heavy, heavy grain of salt. But there's a report saying that, they're saying they're going to be killing off cars. Now, Ford didn't say what cars they're killing off. According to their infographic, they're going to be just reducing available configurations for all the current models. But there's other media outlets that are saying they're killing cars to make room for trucks and SUVs. But Ford didn't say they're actually killing anything yet. We know the Fusion is kind of up in the air because they want to export that production to China. and they said they wouldn't bring those Chinese Fusions into the States for some reason. We also know the Fiesta, they've said in the past few months here that the new next-gen Fiesta won't be coming to the States, but that wasn't officially confirmed by the American Ford division, only by the European Ford division. So Fiesta's up in the air, Fusion's up in the air. Focus is kind of in a weird spot because that's, being built in China, and they don't seem like they want to import stuff from China, but then again, they're teasing the new Focus, and it seems like they're rolling that out relatively soon. So there's a lot of wild cards still at play here with the Ford car portfolio. So we'll have to wait and see. But one of the developments, again, from this source, they didn't have any kind of backing. They just said they had an anonymous tip saying that Ford is shelving the S650 Mustang platform. So what that would mean is instead of having an all-new Mustang on a new, lighter, more advanced, brand new platform for the next-gen Mustang in 2021 or whatever, instead they would just continue on with the S550 platform and continue to improve that. So basically another reskinning. It could be a heavy change, but it could be, for example, the S197 platform for the Mustang went from 2005 all the way up to 2014. So basically lasted 10 years and had 3 revisions. You had the 05 to 09 body style, then you had the 10 to 12 body style, and then you had the 13 and 14 refresh yet again. So it could be something like that where they just want to save some money and do another refresh maybe in 2021 instead and have the all new one maybe coming in 2023 or 24. And push it off a little ways, or it could just be that they are not focused on Mustang development right now. I'm not sure what it means. I don't think it means the death of the Mustang, because Mustangs are synonymous with America and apple pie and baseball and Ford in general. I think, discontinuing development of the Mustang would be an incredibly stupid move. So we'll just have to wait and see. Again, management changes a lot, especially between now and 2021 when the next Mustang is due. So, it could be we get a new CEO, or, things don't go the way that they're planning in the first couple of years and things get back on track. We'll have to wait and see. Nothing to panic about just yet, but things seem a little shaky at Ford right now. I don't know what's going on, and hopefully we'll have some more clarity next year. But anyway, interesting to hear all of that. Another vehicle that's potentially on the chopping block is Automobile Magazine, again, is reporting here that Audi, again, they have no source to back this up. They just said they've heard that Audi is not going to be developing a next-gen R8. And whenever the new Huracan arrives in 2020, there will be no new R8 replacement. It'll just die in 2020. Again, none of this is confirmed. They don't even have any sources that are backing this up. They're just saying this. So who knows? It's not a far-fetched idea. But again, I think hopefully Audi values having a halo vehicle in their lineup, even though it sells less than the Huracan and is cheaper than the Huracan, despite being a very similar car. Hopefully, they find a way to keep it around. But anyway, we'll just have to wait and see for an official word on that. And some slightly strange news this week from Wheels Magazine that interviewed Tobias Moores, who's the CEO of Mercedes-AMG, and he said that they've been working with Linkin Park, the band, to develop sounds for future electric cars. So we know, it's a risk to pedestrians who can't hear electric cars, and if we're in this all-electric future someday, then this is all going to be totally silent outside of wind noise and tire noise, and they need these cars to make some kind of noise to alert people that they're coming at them or whatever. And so, they've been experimenting with sounds for years now for what they would even do. And most of these sounds are really bizarre and strange sounding. But apparently, according to him, he said that they started to talk with these guys about what is their interpretation of electrified sound. We've had a cooperation with Linkin Park for years. We're really close. We started off years ago and established a team doing artificial sound. And we worked together with game specialists. We worked together with film artists, all to develop these sounds, to try and figure out what is a future electric car supposed to sound like. Do you mimic a gasoline engine? Do you do some type of future weird, Tron style sound or something? What do you do? And so I think they're trying to figure that out, and who knows, what's going to happen, but they're working with Linkin Park to develop that. So interesting there. Another little thing here I want to mention. So a clarification, actually. Last week I was talking about Mini and how they're going to be offering a dual clutch transmission in the 2018 2018 Cooper lineup, which is true if you're not in America. So I've discovered that that is only for Europe, that new dual clutch transmission that they're going to be offering for the Mini Cooper. Their USA communications manager said that producing the transmission takes up a lot of capacity, which is why it's not going to be available for the States and only for Europe. So we're still stuck with the Steptronic 6-speed automatic from I don't know how long ago, and that's what we're stuck with still. But in some more positive news, Mini has also announced this past week that they're launching Mini Yours, which is this parts ordering service and customization that they're offering here. So Mini's always been very keen on, customization and making, everything very custom tailored to the individual customer, which is awesome. So now with this new program, they kind of stepped it up a notch. So you can now order customized side scuttles, dashboard trim panels, and LED projected puddle lights and door sills. And so your options, you can choose different colors, different patterns, different surface finishes. You can use icons, text, and even their own signature. So you can use your own signature on your door sill there if you want for your door sill panel. So that's pretty cool, that they are even offering that. So basically they said that the way they're able to do this is they're going to be 3D printed and laser etched in Germany, and then will be sent over and delivered a few weeks later here. So I'm sure it's not going to be cheap. Mini stuff rarely is, and especially something like this is a one-off thing. But at least with 3D printing, hopefully that keeps the cost down. But it's very awesome they're just offering that. I think it's a really cool idea, and we'll have to wait and see what customers end up doing with that. So anyway, cool to hear that. And the last bit of news this week is Chinese car company GAC Motor has announced that they're going to be bringing a U.S.-specific EV concept to the Detroit Auto Show next month, and it's going to be shown alongside their existing SUV, minivan, and luxury sedan. And so they're just one of the many Chinese car companies that want to get into the United States and tap into this market since it's so large. And they said that GAC says they want to be in the U.S. car market by the end of 2019 is their goal. But they said they would do it with like franchise car dealerships. So they'd have to put up dealerships and develop all this kind of stuff. And sounds tough without a partnership or a merger or something. So we'll have to wait and see, what they end up being able to pull off here. But anyway, interesting to hear that. But yeah, so that's it for all the news this week, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching. I also want to thank you for tuning in all this past year. These weekly updates, I think, have gained a little more momentum, and I think a lot of you are really enjoying them, and I'm really glad to hear that. So let me know in the comments below if there's any improvements or changes you'd like to see to the weekly update next year. Thank you guys very much for watching this one, though, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.